All About Beer receives underwriting support from Trillium Brewing Company. They understand the importance of independent journalism in the beer space, and their support helps fund original work. Learn how you can affordably support journalists by visiting allaboutbeer.com/support.
Welcome to Drink Beer, Think Beer, the podcast that gets to the bottom of every pint. I'm John Holl. San Diego has long been a den of craft beer ingenuity. And on this episode, I'm talking with Daniel Cady of TapRoom Brewery about his approach to hops and beer when it comes to staying interested as a brewer and keeping customers happy. But first, keep up with everything we have going on with All About Beer by visiting our social medias. We're at All About Beer across all of the major platforms. And if you have comments or guest suggestions or just want to reach out, you can always email me at johnholl@allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL. And speaking of email, if you go to our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. That's one of the best ways to get all we're producing right to your eyeballs. We're also supported by you. Head to allaboutbeer.com/support and learn how just a few bucks can have a huge impact in supporting original journalism in the beer space. We need you now more than ever. On that note, thanks to this episode's sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Stomp Stickers. Stomp is built for the business community, serving everyone from small independents to larger franchises. Whether you need low minimums for a limited batch or bulk pricing for your go-to products, they've got you covered. Join thousands of breweries that trust Stomp for their custom printing needs. Go to stompstickers.com and try them out and score 15% off of your first order with the code FIRSTRUN.
Calling all hopheads. Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60-minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60-minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
If you're running a brewery, owner or operator, Beer 30 by the Fifth Ingredient is the ultimate command center. The most powerful brewery management software on the market, Beer 30 handles the entire brewing workflow from recipe development to production. Once your beer is brewed and ready, it seamlessly manages your inventory and streamlines your brewery's sales and distribution, all in the same easy-to-use platform. Beer 30 lets you get back to the beer and to the people that made you fall in love with this industry in the first place. And no other brewery management software gives you the ability to truly master your business and get the insights that you need to thrive in an increasingly competitive industry. Visit thefifthingredient.com/allaboutbeer today to learn more and receive 3 free months of Beer 30. I've had hops on the brain lately. Following the Mighty Fine Festival at Goodward Brewing in Georgia at the start of this summer, which celebrated West Coast IPAs, I've been seeking out and drinking out that clear and bitter brew that built craft beer to what it is today. Dan Cady of TapRoom Brewing in San Diego was at that festival, and we've been talking a bit ever since. So I'm glad he's here to chat about what's going on with San Diego and to hear his approach to hops and beer, from hazy to West Coast to the always exciting fresh hop beers. Listening to a brewer like Dan, you're likely to be inspired and to have hope for the industry, which we could all use right now. Here's our conversation. Dan, I wanted to start off by talking to you about being a neighborhood brewery, which is something that TapRoom seems to focus on quite a bit in reading up on the brewery, talking to folks in San Diego as well. And I mean, it's with so many breweries in and around the city, I imagine location and sense of place is fairly important. For you, what does it mean to be a neighborhood brewer? And is there an approach that you take that might be different if it wasn't so neighborhood focused?
Yeah, you kind of nail the eternal question there, because in my background in production brewing, and also in bit more eclectic beer styles. One of my goals with this program has been to listen to our people. And we're smack dab in the middle between three very popular neighborhoods here in San Diego, that being North Park, the Hillcrest, and the University Heights neighborhood. And that brings a very unique group of families, young professionals, beer enthusiasts through our doors, and kind of the pinnacle of our liquid has been focusing on the drinkability, the approachability, but as its context in a group hub, it's agreement with our food menu. And that's to say, we're classic pub grub. We have amazing burgers. We have amazing wings, but we want to make sure that we're still ringing true to the beers that we really enjoy making, and also reflecting on our customer preferences. And that's been a nice project over the last 3.5 years or so.
Because there's something to be said for, and I realize this even sort of the more I travel as well, right? There's going to be some of those beer nerd beers, those ones that we get, if it's a barrel aged stout, if it's, some IPA that really showcases hops in a different way, or if there's a brewer that's jazzed about process or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, when we're all sitting around these days, and I think there's a little bit of fatigue that is set in, we just want something that's reliable. We just want something that sort of blends into the background, that is, doesn't have to be dissected and, or fussed over kind of thing. And I feel like for, a neighborhood brewery, like, you're going to get people who come in, I imagine, and like, oh, what's new or what's exciting, but they just want something that's reliable, that they can just sit back and be like, yeah, today was a tough day. This is a really good beer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go on. And, from your brewing perspective, right? There's challenges to that, to create something so well done that it's just in somebody's background. So when you're approaching sort of some of these beers, are you getting feedback from regulars in the tap room? Are you just monitoring sales? Are you, how have you as a brewer sort of adapted to brewing for that audience?
Yeah, that's been one of our kind of unique focus points, because as much as I want to be data driven, I want to be reactive as well in more of an agility sense. And so we have a small mug club of basically invite only regulars, that they are our most vocal minority when it comes to consistency of our flagship beers. And hey, have you heard about this? Would you guys ever think about making something like this? And taking into that account. But I think one of the ultimate achievements is to take a recipe of ours and be able to put it through this filter that is, we've gotten it to a point where it doesn't have to be fussed over. People can come in, have 2 or 3, grab a crowler, grab a 4-pack of cans, and be happy with the trip that they made that evening. And of course, there's the typical trends: light pale lager, West Coast IPA in various formats. But surprisingly, our number one seller, hand over fist, for the last 36 months running, has been hazy IPA. And it's a particular recipe that me and my brewer have fussed over for a long time, because it's been a beer that we've been making for the better part of 5 or 6 years together. We're never fully confident that it's perfect yet, and I think those changes have reflected on its its rate of sale at the bar, and I think that kind of rings true to the minutia of the decision making when it comes to recipe tweaks, because we are brewing to the context of the neighborhood and the pub. Given that we're down the street from some pretty well-known, well-regarded breweries that are making world-class, world-famous products as well.
So walk me through then the evolution of your hazy and where you started, where it is now, and how you've been approaching tweaks.
Yeah, so my brewer and I, we both come from Mickler, San Diego, where we were doing probably about 3,000 or 4,000 barrels annually of a hazy IPA, a flagship hazy IPA. Sorry, that was about 7% ABV, very wheat forward, and that beer itself was kind of designed for volume and consistency in the distribution market. And while it was a nice hazy IPA, there were elements about it that kind of felt were maybe a little shorthanded in the sense of hop expression or texture. And that's one of the big challenges that I'm sure that we've talked about a million times in the brewing space when it comes to quote unquote macro volume hazy IPA and half a dozen shift brewers and 12 batches a week. That gets really difficult. But when we brought it here as a framework, one of the biggest things that we've always championed is hazy IPA in drinkability's respect. We want something that is in that 3.5 Plato finishing gravity with a blend of new school American and Southern Hemisphere hops that give you that zippy pineapple passion fruit quality, but also kind of leans on that orange creamsicle aspect of your citrus profile. Mm-hmm. And we've tweaked the grain bill quite a bit to get to a place where we feel there's still texture, it's smooth and it's round, but it doesn't ever come across as wide or sweet. And that's been a healthy balance of our water profile and our balance of acidity and finishing gravity. So we also
sorry, go ahead.
We're also not in the camp of 5+ pounds per barrel on dry hop with those beers. We like to stay pretty low end, I think, comparatively, and I think that kind of adds to its quote unquote crushability as a hazy IPA.
When you talk about not too sweet though, so many of the beers in that style embraced sweetness, and I think that is primarily what a lot are known for. Do you get pushback if it's not as sweet as maybe some of the others out there?
I think with us, we've noticed that in the context of the pub, we've tried the triple dry hop, double IPA, double hazy IPAs. We've done some triples in the past, and taking the energy of hazy IPA in SoCal, especially with some big name brewers, we kind of tripped over that a little bit more because the folks that are coming to the bar, they want to have a pint. They don't want a $9 10 ounce of 9.5%, 8 pound per barrel dry hop hazy IPA. So for us, those things kind of don't work as well. And so that's kind of what drove us to think more about that balance profile, where we're not using sweetness and aggressive hopping as the balance point. We're utilizing hop character and finish in the glass across the palate as our focal point, because we do want people to have a couple of them. And you know, historically, I was big nerd for the hazy IPAs of, you know, the forefathers of hazy IPA. And I loved that density. I loved that strength when you would get, especially when Galaxy was really good. So many of those.
Is it not good anymore?
Consistency has been our shortcoming the last 5 or 6 years. But I do remember when, you know, we were going and buying cases at Monkish on the weekends and trading for East Coast iterations and up and down the coast. And those were exciting beers for me, because that I was in a point in my career where I really appreciated that kind of that like punk rock nature of a beer style that people champion a lot, that being IPA.
Is there, it's been a while since I've been to San Diego, and like years. But when I first started writing about beer and I came up, like I'd go out as often as I could. And there was always, and I'm bringing this up because you brought up punk rock, right? But there was always this sort of, you needed to go to San Diego to recharge your beer batteries, because there was always something exciting happening there. There's always somebody new who was opening up, and there was always this sort of, you know, not secret conversation, but, you know, this understanding of, you know, oh, I know you like good beer, you should go to here. And it was someplace that nobody knew of, that kind of thing. And it had this, you know, kind of punk rock vibe to it, which is not something that I'm often accused of. But does that still exist? Like, is there still some of that juice in the area of, you know, getting inspired by folks who are, you know, just opening up or rediscovering something, or, you know, just saying, fuck all the trends, we're just gonna go back to doing it the way that we want to do it?
Absolutely. I mean, we're still craft beer central when it comes to the kind of the lexicon of U.S. craft beer. I mean, obviously with different changes in the, you know, with buyouts or whatnot, but those places set the tone for our microculture. And even in the hyper digital age where trends, you know, cross borders and blur lines, there's still a healthy homebrew club with Quaff that continues to dominate the homebrewing space. And still to this day, so many of those brewers go on to either work at or open new operations. And I think gone are the days of the classic 5 beers, red, yellow, brown.
Yeah. All with one house yeast. Yeah,
exactly. But it is kind of interesting to talk to new brewers, or not necessarily new, but freshly opened breweries, and get a gist of their portfolios, and how I'm seeing a generational shift, even though I'm, you know, kind of part of it, I think, but younger breweries that are putting a lot of emphasis on fruit forward beers with, Berliners and Goza, big hop intense hazy IPAs, and then even to the hard seltzer realm, and doing really, really fun and I guess crazy things with those flavor profiles. And I think that in an essence is the San Diego brewing scene, just in a new light.
So you kind of brought this up in talking about, because I always think of West Coast IPA obviously when I think of San Diego, and I think about some of like the very early iterations of it, the C hops, the bitterness as a badge kind of thing. And I know this came up at Mighty Fine, which you were at out at Goodword a couple weeks ago. And obviously on the show, I've had Bagby on to talk about Swami's and Type 97 and the way that it's evolved. And you sort of talked about the current iterations of West Coast IPA. And I'm wondering where you see it sitting these days versus when you came on or came up as a brewer and trading and standing in line and getting excited about stuff like how have you seen the evolution, and where are the ones that you make, where do those sit in the spectrum of IPA?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I immediately think back to this damn IPA we were brewing at one of my early jobs, where it was a 2-row Maris Otter Munich wheat double IPA.
Love it. I love it.
At the time, it was like 8.5%. And
I mean, that's a beer that I would swoon for.
Yeah. And we made this thing all
I
the
wouldn't
time.
drink it today, but yeah.
I think that beer kind of was a little ahead of its time too, because it was a heavy Citra focused beer, but it still had Chinook, it still had Amarillo. It was over the calculated IBU threshold. But that beer was like that big, bitter, boozy IPA, double IPA.
Yeah.
And I think that was a great entry point for me, because in looking at the IPA scene now, I am just absolutely geeking out over IPAs from the Northern Canadian or Northern Washington, up in Bellingham, all the way down to San Diego. And I'm just totally floored with how this kind of sense of regionality was kind of exploded and rebuilt. Gone are the days of the classic PNW IPA, but this freight train of West Coast IPA in its new form with breweries like Breakside and Grains of Wrath and Bon Ebert that are just crushing this new but still classic iteration of West Coast IPA, being still bitter. It still has structure, and it is contemporary, because if you're not using Mosaic in everything, then you're not competing. But how that influences SoCal, I think is still evolving, because we definitely saw this big shift in low bitterness, high hop aroma, high flavor, but very lean. Everything was Pilsner malt, as lean as it could be, but pulling back bitterness to increase this lightness in the glass. And I think our travels north over the last couple of years and spending a lot of time with these brewers and drinking these beers has brought a lot of great perspective on that particular like corner of West Coast IPA. And I think for us, me and Justin, my assistant brewer, it gives us a really cool looking glass to kind of be like left brain, right brain when it comes to either making changes to an existing brand or writing new recipes.
I like that.
Because we are the students of the beer advocate days. We are the ex beer traders, and the level of excitement that we see in our customer base, but also in ourselves when it comes to new hot products or new techniques or etc. We still have to be able to kind of compartmentalize that and make calculated changes to our beers.
Yeah.
But man, I feel extremely blessed to kind of sit in the middle of all of this happening.
Do you miss those days? Do you, when you look out at the tap room sometimes, do you miss having folks like that in the crowd?
To a degree, I think. I still get the Facebook memory pop up of going and standing in line at Barrel Age Speedway.
Oh God, yeah.
And I missed that more so as a consumer because I think my career has kind of it's grown and evolved somewhat adjacent to that level, but of beer nerd enthusiasm style beers. But I'm really just happy to see people happy when with the price of pints, exceeding $8, $9, $10 these days.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cash, and to see people happy to spend time with their friends and family and shell out 2 gallons worth of gas on a pint, that's fulfilling for me.
Is there a responsibility that you feel? There's not a lot of brewers that it occurs to me when I'm talking to them that talk about the price of a pint. And is there that you bring it up means it's top of mind for you. Is there a responsibility that you feel to give people their dollar's worth?
100%. 100%. I mean, I'm a big fan of watching every fine dining documentary and famous Michelin restaurant experience, and that kind of like that disease of perfection almost that it emanates from those programs. It exists for a reason, and that is customer experience and customer value. And when it comes to something as fleeting as a pint of IPA or adjunct lager or barrel aged stout, I want to make sure that there's no question that what they bought, they enjoyed, and they'll remember. And that makes the decision making kind of easier in a sense, because it gives us a really clear North Star for, this is about the product and about the people that we're sharing it with. And we have to be mindful in every action. So as a consumer myself, I still love beer tourism and I love traveling. And I see the regional difference in price point, very, very, very different. And that to me brings context with the ever increasing price of materials and labor and Um, if things are going to continue going up, then the quality and experience has to move with it.
I appreciate you saying that because it's one of those. I've been harping on it for a while, and again, I haven't heard brewers really talk about it, but um, I go to a lot of breweries and, often, unannounced, and I'm just there to drink and have a good time, and I'll order a beer and I'll put my money down, and then I leave kind of mad and disappointed because it's not a great pint. And you get the impression sometimes that it's just a cash grab for some folks. And so I'm really appreciative, like as a consumer, of you talking about it and thinking about it that way.
Yeah, and I'm glad we get to have these kind of conversations because I grew up young in the beer space, and being in college, I didn't have a ton of money to spend, and so it was every week to week, trying to figure out like how to prioritize going to this tap takeover or sending out this trade box because we were excited by it. And nowadays, um, with so many different options, yeah, I still want to make sure that I sit down and have that positive experience, that visceral exchange with a good ass pint with the people that I'm with and the people that I love. And so I hope that, as things continue to evolve in our industry, with new breweries opening up, that kind of that responsibility kind of continues to float around.
Yeah, no, I dig that. Um, so you were out at Mighty Fine a couple weeks ago, down in Duluth, Georgia. Um, I feel like I was in this boat a couple years ago where it's like, oh, I'm not really thinking about Georgia when it comes to beer, even though there's really good beer happening there. Um, you were traveling around quite a bit. Any big takeaways? Any
Yeah.
exciting interactions that you had that sort of were like, yeah, I can't wait to get back and mess around and do this, or, holy shit, my eyes were open to XYZ.
Yeah, what a cool experience that was. Because I've met plenty of brewers from all over the country and all over the world, and I think there is this kind of like hive mind when it comes to either certain beer styles or like brewing ethos. Um, but unless you get out there and experience it, you really can't grasp the true sense of it. And I mean, I love following breweries online that have like epic like visual packages in their Instagram and labels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also, when it comes to branding, that I think that goes so far, or it goes really far. Um, and I got to go to some of these breweries that I've been following for a long time, and I was so stoked to get to try some of the really wacky stuff, but then also the fairly well regarded legendary things like 3% American lagers at halfway crooks by the liter. Um, that's when it comes to those types of experiences, especially when you're traveling. You put all of the elements together: the taproom space, the glassware, the story, or the reputation. You put all those things together, and you walk away from that like really really excited. I think that becomes a lifetime memory.
I like that. Um, so you're talking about the experiences and, some of the special days and everything. And we're kind of coming up. We've been talking a lot about IPA and a lot about hops, and, we're coming up on harvest in the Pacific Northwest fairly soon. Next couple of weeks, it'll begin in earnest. Um, you have a love of fresh hop beers. Tell me what you're excited about this year and sort of your approach in San Diego, which before we went on, you were sort of noting that as hop forward as your city is, it's not always super excited about fresh hop season. So what are you doing to get people excited? What are you doing to get yourself excited?
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, the kind of I mean, that's a great way to put it. That San Diego being so hop forward and hop loving is lacking in fresh hop enthusiasm, and I think a lot of that's is context. We're not a highly agricultural region. I mean, San Diego specifically, especially when it comes to brewing ingredients, and we focus heavily on the brewing with craft malt in our pub, and we try and do as much work as we can to go grower direct with our hop purchasing, so that it gives our products a little bit more like tangible life. Not to say that others don't, but
Mm-hmm.
we have that opportunity as a pub where our brew house is right behind the bar, and you can see me adding everything.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to fresh hop beer, that harkens all the way back to when I was a assistant brewer at a brewery, making an annual, we make it once, Chinook fresh hop beer. Um, because the brewer at the time had a relationship with someone to get good Chinook Holcomb. And that stuck in my mind so strongly, because it was just such a flavor that was so unique and so immediate that I had to keep trying it every year, exploring different recipe designs, whose hops, learning as much as I could about pick windows and etc. Coming into 2025, there's been a lot of amazing work and opportunities put forward for getting so many of the amazing varietals that we love, your Citras, your Mosaics, your Stratas, right to your door. And I know that there's logistical challenges and price point is still high for the volume that you're required for a batch, but I'm heavily inspired by the Pacific Northwest breweries that literally stop everything for 6 weeks and only make fresh hop beer because that's all that people will buy. And
Yeah.
the fact that their market supports that for, I don't know, 200 breweries that between Oregon and Washington that are able to focus so heavily on that sub style. And then getting to get up during harvest and do selection, but then also see the energy of Fresh Hop Ale Festival and collaboration beers and whatnot. That's taught us a lot. And so last year we kind of went full hog in fresh hop beer, and between myself and Tom Nickel of Nickel Beer Co. and
Oh yeah.
O'Brien's Pub, just our two breweries, we released over 20 fresh hop beers last year.
That's awesome.
And the fact that myself at TapRoom, we made 9 fresh hop beers, and they were all different beer styles and they were all different varietals. And they were all gone by the beginning of November. Really, that kind of gave me a boost to continue looking into how we can change the beer market's perspective for fresh hop beers. Because I think there was definitely a gray cloud of they all just taste like grass and they're just like earthy, and they're never very good. They're just hip, I think with the techniques that we've learned and the relationships that we've built with growers, I mean, we're putting out some like very like varietal specific expressions of fresh hop beer, and I owe that all to the amazing brewers that we've met and built relationships with in the last couple of years.
When you said all different styles, were you doing beyond IPA?
Yeah, yeah. Black IPA, Copper Ale, West Coast Pills, Hazy IPA, Double IPA. We made Belgian beer.
A fresh hop Belgian beer. Tell me about that.
Done a few. It kind of started with this idea from when we were back at Mickler. We had a pretty nice collection of mixed firm beer. And we would do an Amarillo dry hopped, fresh hop barrel blend of both like monoculture Saison beer and also some like stock golden sour. And we were dry hopping this beer for like 10 days, just in a tank, and kind of paying homage to like a Blauji dry hop Saison. And I really loved that character of spicy yeast expression, but then this like deeply saturated like cantaloupe, honeydew, melon flavor from fresh hop. So in a restaurant setting, of course, we had to try it. Little Belgian blonde ale, 4.8%, light-handed on fresh hop, but just enough to where it was different.
And you're talking my language, yeah.
And I think that's, and running the gamut of the beer styles, I think was important for the customer, or at least our brewer friends that wanted to come and try them, to kind of get that sense that, it's just not a grass IPA every time. Just because it's fresh hop doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. And if I encourage everyone, if you have the facilities, to go to Fresh Hop Ale Fest in Yakima on the first weekend of October, I believe it's 30 breweries, invitational style, that bring only fresh hop beer. And you compete in different categories for fresh hop beer execution. And I went one year as a shout out to Tim Wallen from BGF and Hop Technic. And I sat in on one of his talks at the Master Brewers in Seattle 2 years ago, and he told me he was leaving early to go to Fresh Hop Ale Fest, and I asked him, "What's that?" And he gave me a ticket, and I drove out from Seattle. It was at 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I spent 3 hours at Fresh Hop Ale Fest, and I was back in Seattle before the pub closed. And I took that with me, and it was such a cool experience. And that, to me, as like a lover of like community, the amount of energy at a festival as niche as we only have fresh hop beer. I mean, how many of us have been to how many beer festivals in our lives?
Yeah.
And that kind of like regionally specific thing, that really lit a fire for me.
And the thing that I really come to enjoy about fresh hop season is that it is a season, and it's tied to harvest. It's tied to a specific time of year. And that, when it's gone, it's gone. And I'm not dismissing Oktoberfest or anything else like that, but it's here we are in early August, and a lot of those beers are already in stores and on shelves, and people are excited about that, and I'm excited that they're excited about that. But I want the weather to be a little bit cooler. I don't want 95 degrees with humidity to match here in Jersey when I open my first Oktoberfest of the year, and it's the seasonal creep is real because there's a market for it, and there's people who are eagerly snapping it up, and you hear calls for make a Martzen year round, and sure, like I get that, but I just I like fresh hop because like you can't change the calendar. You can't change the harvest window. It is only available to me be made when the ingredients are ready. And there's just something really, I don't know, like fun about that, an old world about that. And that, much like, seasonality with a restaurant or, items on a menu, it's, when it's gone, it's gone. And when it's available, it's available. And that's, I don't know, like kind of going back to some of those early days that you were talking about. I miss some of the more defined seasons of beer, and fresh hop is really one of those ones that you just can't mess with. So I dig it, and I'm glad that you're doing it down there, and I hope people are paying attention to it and coming out, and will continue to come out, and that it's not just IPA, that you're messing around with other styles as well. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's our last connection to seasonality, in the classic water malt hops yeast, and so I think with the strides that the industry as a whole are making in technology with concentrated fresh hop pellets, I think it's going to come back around a lot quicker than we probably expected it to.
Yeah. So I've been asking folks on the show for I don't know how long now, but I've been asking this green door question, and the premise is on the television show The Good Place. In the final season, they introduce a concept of a green door that the characters can walk through and be anywhere they want, doing whatever they want. So if we had a green door on our plane of existence, and you could walk through it when this conversation is over, and be at any pub or any brewery anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? Who would you want to be with, and what would you like to be drinking?
I think this is one of my bucket list things, but I wish I could sit down at Russian River, Santa Rosa with my two younger brothers and share a pizza and a couple pints of Hop Father and STS, and just hang out again. Santa Rosa, Sonoma, they owe a lot to, I spent a lot of time up there as a young boy, but it's kept me coming back, and with my family up there still, it's a blessing to have them in such a beautiful space. But I think that would be my thing. Just no fuss, just chatting, having beers, eating pizza.
Sounds like a delightful way to spend a day.
I agree.
Dan, thanks for doing this. And I am long overdue for a San Diego visit. I have no idea when I'm going to get there again, but when I do, I'm going to swing by, and hopefully we can continue this conversation in person over pints.
Thanks, John. It's been a pleasure.
Who makes fresh hop beers that you think everyone should seek out? Let me know. You can email me at johnholl, that's JOHNHOLL, at allaboutbeer.com. And go visit allaboutbeer.com, where you can check out new content as well as the archives, which go all the way back to 1979. Follow All About Beer on social media at All About Beer. And before we run, here's a word from this week's sponsors. StompStickers.com is loaded with features to make ordering a breeze. They save all your artwork and order history, so restocking your bestsellers is just a click away. Oh, and did we mention free shipping on every order? Try Stomp Stickers today and snag 15% off of your first order with the code FIRSTRUN.
Calling all hopheads. Dogfish Head 60 Minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60 Minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60 Minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
If you're running a brewery, owner or operator, Beer 30 by The Fifth Ingredient is the ultimate command center. The most powerful brewery management software on the market, Beer 30 handles the entire brewing workflow, from recipe development to production. Once your beer is brewed and ready, it seamlessly manages your inventory and streamlines your brewery's sales and distribution, all in the same easy-to-use platform. Beer 30 lets you get back to the beer and to the people that made you fall in love with this industry in the first place. And no other brewery management software gives you the ability to truly master your business and get the insights that you need to thrive in an increasingly competitive industry. Visit thefifthingredient.com/allaboutbeer today to learn more and receive 3 free months of Beer 30. Don't forget, All About Beer has a podcast channel. Search and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Steal This Beer has new episodes every Monday, and the BYO Nano podcast comes out on the 15th of every month. As for this show, Nate Schweber does the music, Jeff Quinn designed our logo, and I'm John Holl. New episodes release every Wednesday, and that's when I'll be back again to drink beer and to think beer.